Hi everybody, PlanetWalls here. I am coming to you today with the Classic Invitational tournament. This thing is the tournament that you get an invite to if you made top 8 in one of the Classic League qualifier tournaments, and I did that in 2 tournaments, so I actually earned a bye, and this is round 1 right now. So instead of showing you round 1, since it's a bye, I'm instead just going to take you through the deck I decided to play. Kind of regretting playing this now, given what the metagame turned out to be. And then I'll talk a little bit about the metagame, and this will only be a couple minutes. So, Chris Cool and I worked doing some testing. I tested with some other guys a little bit too, including Enderfall, but Chris and I worked on a lot of this stuff together. And the goal was to figure out a way to beat Affinity, Shop, and Oath. Those are the 3 big decks. And so, Shop is essentially a prison shop that runs a lot of sphere effects that increase the cost of spells. Affinity is Ravager Affinity that also runs Lodestone Golems and Tangle Wires. And then Oath plays Oath of Druids and tries to get out big creatures, kind of cheat them out. And it has usually a combo or a control shell. And so the goal was to be able to beat those 3 decks, which I thought the bulk of the field would be. So real quick, I'll take you to the field. Actually, I won't do that real quick. I won't show you what it is. I'll just summarize it. It's essentially there are 5 shop decks out of the 21 people playing, 2 affinity decks, and then a ton of creature-based fish decks that I don't know if my build will be able to handle. There are a couple Oath, like 3 Oath decks. So everybody tried to hate out the best metagame threats instead of actually fighting them, or I'm sorry, playing them themselves, which makes a bit of sense, and maybe we could have anticipated. So I'll take you through the list real quick. Mana base, I'll go with first. There are 6 fetch lands in the main. I'm playing these awkward for classic lands here, Sacred Foundry and Battlefield Forge. The reason is that I've got 2 Leonin Arbiters, and I don't want to draw multiple fetch lands with a Leonin Arbiter. I probably could put another fetch land in. The Sacred Foundry is also a Plains, and so it can be pitched to Abolish. Earlier drafts of the deck had Pulverize. If you're unfamiliar with the card, it's sack 2 mountains or pay 6 mana to destroy all artifacts. Moving down, a lot of basic lands, which will be relevant in a minute, including 1 basic mountain, Caracas, which is good against Oath, and also can save Architakis, 1 Strip Mine, 4 Lotus Petals, which are good for fighting against prison sphere effects, cost-increasing effects, 4 Bolts for removal, they kill Lodestone Golems and a lot of stuff in Affinity, a Jitte for aggro matchups that occasionally helps. Now here's a techie card that we decided to play, Hammer Mage. So this guy's a human, and essentially you can get a soft lock with him against Shop or Affinity once you hit enough lands. And he's been... The only way they can deal with him really is with Revoker. And so Lightning Bolt can kill Phyrexian Revoker, also 2 Katakis to hate out the artifact decks, Leonin Arbiters, and Mind Sensors for hating out combo decks or Oath or any deck that runs fetch lands. Relic Warders are also good against both Oath and the artifact-based decks. True Believer prevents Oath from triggering. It also prevents their discard effects from doing anything. Abolish is an occasionally free to cast artifact or enchantment removal spell, good against both Oath and Shop. Originally I was trying Hide and Seek. The problem is Chalice of the Void also costs 2. I'm sorry, on 2 would also prevent Hide and Seek from targeting the Chalice. So I tried to destabilize the costs a little bit, including an Ingature for dealing with artifacts. It can also be played as a 3/3, though it's mediocre. Magus the Moon is a techie card that's been working out well, and can shut down Affinity and Prison Shop very easily. Oath a little bit less so, though it can cause Oath some stress. Spirit Guides are there as creatures in a pinch, but primarily there to help push through Prison Shop and land a Magus or a Hammer Mage quickly. This is a 1 of Silver Bullet against artifact decks, which also serves as a win condition. If they Oath into Blightsteel Colossus, it also can deal 12 damage to them in a pinch if you've already got it in play. Sideboard real quick, we've got Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast for the fish matchups, and they also counter spells. Swords against Affinity and Shop to bring it as an extra, maybe against Oath too. I also like it against aggro matchups as an additional piece of removal. Grafdigger's Cage is good against Dredge and also against Oath as a piece of hate. True Believer you bring in against Oath or some kind of combo deck. Stony Silence is good against Affinity especially and kind of good against Shop. And then the Ley Lines are also good against Oath or any sort of combo deck. Prevent you from being targeted by the Oath. And then Linvala is good against creature-based decks that have a lot of activated abilities. It also blocks Trigon Predators. It's kind of like a silver bullet one of at the top of the curve. Playing a lot of lands, 23. The reason is because, again, I expected a lot of Workshop and Affinity, which run as many pieces of land destruction as they possibly can. And so the goal was essentially to be able to combat those decks since they top-8'd most of the slots in the previous tournaments. The metagame, as I mentioned, is a lot more creature-based decks like mine, but the creatures are a little bit bigger. Trigon Predator, Tarmogoyf, so forth. So I'm a little bit worried. This time probably more than other times. Other times I at least was playing decks that had Force Will and counter spells and had a little bit of flexibility. This is pretty much a dumb aggro deck that has a bunch of hate pieces in it, and I'm hopeful that it can make it there to the top 8, but I'm not holding my breath this time. So I hope you guys enjoy the show.